Now, polls have just closed in Italy, the last country to finish voting and one of the most closely watched. Italy's Interior Minister, Matteo Salvini, has been campaigning hard. He's hoping that his right-wing populist Lega party becomes the #1 party in Italy and one of Europe's most influential. He is trying to forge an alliance of European populists centered around the issue of immigration. And let's go right to Milan. DW's Thomas Sparrow is standing by for us there. He's been covering the vote in Italy for us. Hi, Thomas. So polls have closed there. Do we have any idea at this point how the results are looking?
Sumi, the first numbers have just been published. You can imagine the reaction here. From those first numbers, we can say that the Lega is set to have between 27 and 30%. That is a bit lower than what they had actually expected. But speaking previously to some members of the Lega here, they had said that even if it were below the 30% mark that they had set themselves, then they would still try and present that in a way as a victory, because it's more than what they got in any case 5 years ago in the European election back then. Then for the Democratic Party, which actually won the election 5 years ago, they obviously have less of a percentage this time, fewer votes, but it's still between 21.5 and 24.5, so a relatively good result for them, because according to that they would finish second, even above the Five-Star Movement, which is said to have between 20 and 23. Again, these results have to be taken with a pinch of salt. It's only the first results that have come out. The polls here in Italy have just closed a few minutes ago, so we still have to wait exactly how these numbers developed here in Italy over the night.
That's right, Thomas. But as you're saying, this is what Matteo Salvini was aiming for, to become the biggest party in Italy. What does this mean for the other parties? Are non-populist parties in retreat in Italy?
Well, they are certainly having a difficult time, in particular the Democratic Party. That's a centre-left party, which, as I mentioned, had actually won the election in 2014. They had around 40% of the vote back then. 5 years later, they halved that. So, as I say, 21 to 24.5%. So for them, that is certainly a rather bitter result compared to 5 years ago. And part of that, the reason why this happened is actually because voters have punished them. Voters believe that they are no longer connected to their main interest, connected to what they really want. And many of the voters have actually gone to other parties, like, for example, the Five-Star Movement. That's a clear case here in Italy. So that explains partially why this has happened. We went today here in the streets in Milan and spoke to some people about these different issues, and this is what they told us.
So che sta facendo alcune cose che
Salvini is doing some interesting things.
come quello soprattutto di avere maggiori diritti
He's trying to defend Italy's rights in Europe.
sul fatto sulla battaglia dell'euro che sotto il mio punto
For
di vista
instance, take the battle for the euro, which I think in general has weakened Italy.
Salvini ha portato avanti, sembra voler portare
Although
avanti.
I'm not pro-Salvini, I'm glad that he's involved in the fight.
Sotto questo punto di vista ha detto la sua, insomma.
I believe that sometimes a bit of an iron fist is necessary, so our voice is heard. Because if we're always too nice and submissive, I think people don't take us seriously.
I agree with Salvini that we need to change Europe. We would like another Europe, a Europe that cares about people and less about business.
So, Thomas, interesting to hear from those voices. There are a lot of support for Matteo Salvini, the message that this is our man standing up for us in Europe. On the other hand, we've heard from Matteo Salvini that he wants to reform Europe from within. So what does Matteo Salvini actually want? What does his popularity mean for Europe?
Well, he essentially wants to form an alliance with other parties across the continent that could have similar views, for example, when it comes to immigration. That's at least his stated goal. He wanted to become as well the biggest political group in the European Parliament. The big question, Sumi, is whether he will achieve those goals, given the fact that many of the parties elsewhere do not share all of the same views when it comes to Russia, for example, or when it comes to the economy. Different parties described as populist across the continent have very different views. So what Matteo Salvini has said he wants to do, and he will probably do it as well with this result, is to try and forge alliances with other similar movements. The big question is whether he will be successful in doing so, given those differences across the continent.
Now, Thomas, as we heard the first results coming in there, it looks like the League party, Matteo Salvini's party, poised to be the biggest in Italy. Our correspondent, Thomas Sparrow, in Milan, will talk to you a little bit later.